Hey, Leanne.
Hey, Marianne.
How's it going?
Really well.
You know, I was just thinking about Hog Days last year and the view we had from the museum in our new building here at the corner of Tremont and 2nd. And I'm just wondering what they have planned for us this year.
Yeah, that's a good question. I know somebody we could ask.
Okay.
Let's go to the museum.
Buckle up. It's time for KewaneeMemoryLane, where we cruise down the 4 lanes of Kewanee history with a detour of fun uncovering the past, coming to you straight from the Kewanee Historical Society in the heart of downtown Kewanee. Here are your hosts, Marianne and Leanne.
Hi, I'm Marianne,
And I'm Leanne.
and thank you for joining us for another episode of KewaneeMemoryLane.
We have a special guest today from the Hog Festival Committee. I think everybody knows him. It's Mr. Larry Flannery. Woo!
Where? I've been wanting to meet that guy. He owes me some money.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you joined us, Larry, so
Yeah.
that we can talk about all things Hog Days.
Well,
Yes.
that's a good thing.
It's
Yeah.
been going on for a very long time in Kewanee. So there's some contention as to what the official beginning of Hog Days was. What do you guys consider the first Hog Days?
Well, I consider the first Hog Days 1954.
Okay,
Because
with the centennial or later?
Actually, let's just take it from the top. Okay. The very first Hog Day was in 1947, September
Okay.
20th.
Okay.
And earlier in that year, March of that year, the U.S. Department of Agriculture was sitting around one day, and they were like, "Oh, look at that county there in Illinois, Henry. They produce the most hogs in America. We better let them know that."
Wow.
And so they did, and whoever was in charge of promotional activities back at that time, Chamber of Commerce led by, said, well, we need to do something. We're the biggest town in Henry County, so we'll take it upon ourselves to do a celebration for the county. And so they planned the very first Kewanee Hog Day. It was held again in 1948. 1949, it momentarily went to a 4-day celebration.
Oh my
I read
gosh.
that.
Yes, and
I
they
can't even imagine.
they had the I believe it was called the Kewanee Cavalcade, and it was like a 4-night
Oh.
theatrical presentation.
When I was doing a little research, I did read that.
Yes.
Yes.
And attended by, I read that it was something like 300 support staff that got this thing all put together. It was like
Wow.
a big deal back
And
then.
they were volunteers?
I would guess. I don't think.
Where
we
did they
paid
find
them.
300 volunteers from?
Really.
Wow.
So
Wow,
anyway, that
that's
was in
amazing.
1949, and also that year, 1949, was when the state of Illinois declared us the hog capital of the world through official legislation down there in Springfield. So then 1950, I believe there was a celebration. We, myself and those of us on the committee, we can't really find any records of a hog day or days being held in 1951 or 1952.
Okay.
Now, I can tell you that back at that time, and obviously I'm just going by what I read in the newspapers and all that sort of thing, that the downtown merchants at that point in time, they did not like Hog Days. That was an ugly stepchild as far as they were concerned. And so
I could see it.
they actually, the Chamber of Commerce sent out a survey, I believe it was in 1951, and said, well, should we do this or not? And believe it or not, the majority response was no, let that thing die. We're a cosmopolitan city. We don't do bucolic things like Hog Days.
Oh.
So they,
Okay.
let it go.
Little uppity were we?
And I'm kind of thinking it might get more traffic in your door as a shop owner, but okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, and then we can't really find a record anywhere, including our stuff that we have at the Hog Festival building, that it was held in 1952. Then in 1953, Jim Golby, Mr. Golby, at least brought back the Barrow Show and held that out there on the track at Kewanee High School. And so we had sort of we're getting back toward maybe doing Hog Days,
Right.
but that was about it that year. Well, then in 1954, when they were planning the centennial, a group of farmers, and again, reading this in the Star Couriers back then, a group of farm folk came to, and I can't remember if it was a chamber meeting or a city council meeting, and said, you're talking about pork production, and you think that's bucolic, and you don't want anything to do with it. I guess we could take our money to Geneseo or Galvo or somewhere else and spend it if that's what you want. Oh, well, no, well, you're misunderstanding us, said whoever was in charge back then. And so they brought back Hog Days in conjunction with the Kewanee Centennial that year.
Okay.
And then right after the Centennial, they formed a committee to go ahead and apply to the state for a charter, and they appointed a separate board, primarily Chamber of Commerce people, and we were off and running with Kewanee Hog Days from that point on. So the community consensus is 1954 was the first Kewanee Hog Days, and so that's what we on the Hog Festival Committee go with as far as counting, and this
Okay.
is the 71st annual and so forth. But the very first one was actually in 1947. So getting back to your original question, I would probably prefer that we have the first one be 1947, because that would make Hog Days older than me, and there are so very few things left that are older than me. So I mean, but 1954, I do remember that, believe it or not. I was about 3 or so years old, and sitting over where the old post office used to be at Chestnut and First Street, watching the floats go by in the Centennial Parade. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, was there at the 1947 Hog Days celebration, was there a barrow show then?
Yes, in fact,
so that's always been with the...
that's one of the things we usually promote with the Barrow Show, because nowadays that's held out at Black Hawk East.
Right.
It's really not what it used to be, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But we still support it. We don't fund all of it, but we throw quite a bit of money at it to fund it. And the only reason is because that was the very first event ever held on September 20th in 1947. So we're trying to
Keep that
continue
tradition.
It. Yeah.
That's nice.
I am told, though, you may know that Ann Murchison has been on the committee something like 56
Right,
years.
yes.
She's been on the committee almost forever. And she does tell me that there was one year, somewhere right around 1970, I haven't bothered to look it up, where we did not do a barrow show that year. So we've only missed one in all the years.
Okay. So I remember when I first came here, that was the barrow. And for those of you that aren't in hog country, a barrow is a hog. So it's a hog show. And they always used to ride in the parade. And I noticed that it hasn't ridden in the parade for the last few years. Is that because, why is that?
Well, and again, you'd have to get someone that's more ag knowledgeable than me. We should have Ms. Callahan from
Oh, really? Yeah.
But anyway, There was many, many years it was a no-kill show where the
Right.
hog was not killed,
Yeah.
and then eventually it switched over to the second a winner was declared, he's going off to the market.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's why you may not see the
I see.
grand
Okay.
champion anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, I always enjoyed seeing it because it reminded me that there was one.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. I remember it would be, and they'd be spraying water on it to keep it cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of my favorite things about Hog Days is the parade. I really love
Yeah,
the parade.
right. Yeah, and that's put on with the Ambassador Club, right? The
Yes, it
Ambassador
is,
Club.
and that's sort of, I guess, a fun trivia thing that the parade was starting with this year after the centennial, or when Hog Days got going on its own, was a Labor Day event.
Okay.
And it was a labor parade, and it was put on by the labor unions
Oh.
that we had back at that time in Kewanee.
There were a lot of them.
Yes, there were. And they eventually, either grew tired, I don't know, because it takes a lot of work
Right,
and effort
yeah,
to throw
yeah.
together a parade. It's not as easy as people might think. And so somewhere there in the late 1960s or so, right in there, they were like, well, we're getting tired of doing this. Well, okay, the Hog Festival Committee at that time said, well, okay, we'll go ahead and take it over, but it's going to work out a lot better and actually be easier if we just do it on Saturday. Whoa, time out. Labor Parade. You're doing it on Labor Day. Well, if we're doing it on Saturday.
See, and I always wondered about that because I know, like in the Quad Cities, they have Labor Day parades, and so it's nice to get that explanation. So.
And so I don't know, again, before my time on the committee, but things eventually got worked out where we did switch it to a Saturday parade, and the Hog Festival Committee was in charge of it. And again, because it takes so much effort and time, we asked the chamber if they might get involved, and Ron Dorn and Irv Kelman were two of the names I remember that sort of like,
wow. Yeah.
okay, we'll go ahead and get this thing organized for you people, and we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And of course, they have ever since.
Yeah.
So, Larry, how long have you been on the Hog Festival Committee?
Well, I always tell people this is my second time around because, as you know, I worked at the radio station for quite a while, and when I started working there, the man who was owner-manager of the radio station, George Walker, he had a very firm policy that he wanted all of us involved with the community, and that was one of the ways he wanted, or had the radio station not only be successful, but quite honestly make
Right.
money selling
Right.
advertising,
Yeah.
is that we were all part of the community. So we all had to pick something. Anyone that came on board, it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And we'd have people say, well, I'll go to Rotary Club meetings, or I'll go to Kiwanis
Okay.
meetings,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Okay.
Well, I came along, and Dave Clark had just come along like a year or so before me at the radio station, and we sort of teamed up and said, well, we'll go to Hog Festival meetings. Great, said George, you take care of that. And so we started going, and obviously we're on the committee. And then probably, I'd say the late 70s, somewhere in there, Dave left the radio station. I left the radio in 1980 and just dropped out of it. And I still would come up every Hog Days and,
Yeah.
get sandwiches as a civilian, but really wasn't involved or honestly cared that much about it. Well, then we get to 2001 or so, and I have a friend, Mike Purva, and we sort of started a fun thing where him, his family, and myself, we'd go up and we'd watch the talent show on Monday. And of course, the talent show was sort of like the Gong Show. If you remember that from TV.
Yeah. Get the hook.
Yeah, get the hook ready. And they went through a couple of bad years where they literally had to haul people off stage.
Oh,
This was
my.
this was the time where everyone started becoming loose, and you'd get these metal bands up there, and every other word was the word.
Yeah.
And it sort of got embarrassing. Instead of being a fun thing, it started becoming embarrassing. And Mary Ashpole, who was around back then, and I knew her, I said, something's got to be done. Well, of course, Mary said, well, then come to a meeting and get involved. And it's
That's
like,
right.
by gosh, I will do that.
Okay.
And so I started coming to the meetings, and it sort of worked out well because at that time they were getting ready to do the 50th Hog Days. And they really wanted to do something a little bigger, and they wanted a nice, catchy tagline. And so Dave and I sort of worked together on that and came up with 50 years of Hog Days and still cooking.
Oh,
and,
I like that.
And had a big picture of the grills with the
Sure.
chops being done. So I started going to the meetings, and then within the first year, somebody either passed away, moved away, whatever, where they needed a secretary, which made you an officer. And so, I became secretary, and then after that, treasurer, and then after that, the co-chairperson.
They sucked him in.
Yeah, and there you go.
So now you're a co-chair or president, or what is your current title?
Well, we used to just have a chairperson, and that was the supreme being, and probably before, I don't know, maybe early, mid-90s, it got to be too much for just one person.
Oh,
so
sure.
they had two people, co-chairpersons. And so at the current time here, current place in time, Janie Miskevich and I were the two co-chairpersons. Janie did it for several years. She is still on the committee, but we always say whoever the co-chairpersons are, you're the ones who are the bullseye. So, no matter what, there's a cloud in the sky, that's your fault. Okay, yes,
Can't have
it
the
is.
parade because there's a cloud. It's your fault.
There you
know?
go.
Yeah.
So Janie and I wore the bullseye jackets, and then Janie just sort of got tired of that, but still does
Yeah.
a lot of stuff on the committee. And so then Mike Komnick had joined the committee for a couple of years before that. And so at present time, Mike Komnick and I are the co-chairpersons of the organization.
Okay.
That's great. That's great. And from my understanding, he helps line up a lot of the entertainment
Yes.
that's on the stage Friday night, Saturday,
Yes,
Sunday.
Mike, and everyone that's joined the committee as time goes along, they usually find their niche, what they like to do. And then it's like, okay, well, there you go. There's your piece of the kingdom. Take
There
care
you
of
go.
it. And Mike likes doing the entertainment,
That's
so
great.
he books all of that now every year.
That's great. That's great.
Go ahead.
You were talking about pork chops earlier, and I'm just wondering about, we had a question about the pits and how much charcoal. So when did you guys go from pits to grilling, and maybe how much charcoal do you guys go through? I don't know, or if you can guess.
Well, my best guess is somewhere in the 70s, and I'm basing that on the fact that through the 60s, I still would have been in school and going to Hog Days more as a kid, student, whatever.
Yeah.
And we still had the pits that they made. I remember they used to put them together in front of the People's Bank.
Yeah,
on
we have
Tremont
pictures of
Street.
that. And
Oh,
it was like
really?
concrete
Yes.
blocks.
Oh, okay.
They started out, you had mentioned before we started recording the program here, Marianne, that it used to be over there on the
Yes.
parking lots. Was city parking lot, now it's where Augustus and
Yeah.
Ford has their electrical stuff. That's where it was in the beginning, and then within a year or two, it moved over to where Union Federal sits now. And
That's
it was
right.
there.
That's right.
And then it was in front of the People's Bank for several years, and about the time it moved over to the corner of 3rd and Main Streets, that's when they switched over to grills.
3rd and Main?
I didn't know it was at
I didn't know it was
Main.
at 3rd and Main.
Yeah, well, okay, you got the, Coco's is there now, and then that parking lot.
Oh, I guess I didn't
Yes.
realize that's where it was.
It was there for several years.
In Dooley's lot.
And then they moved it over to Dooley's lot.
Oh,
From
okay.
Coco's lot to Dooley's lot.
Okay.
And then just about that time, that's when they added the big tent that we use.
Yeah.
And then they went from there to the street where the police station used to be, right there on Berrien Park. And then now we're down there just west of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Station restaurant, whatever it's going to be next.
Yeah.
Fat Boys
Fat Boys.
restaurant.
Yes, Fat
Barbecue.
Boys
Yeah.
Barbecue, yes.
Okay. And lately you've had a drive-through for the pork chops.
We started that. That idea actually spawned with the one who gets the credit for it is Bill Breedlove.
Okay.
And in about
Good for him.
2018 or so, right in there, Bill one day said, "Boy, you really should offer so that people could drive through." Well, at that point in time, we were still out in the
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
street there on Tremont, and it's like, well, there's no way we can do that.
Yeah.
So then we get to 2020, the pandemic year, and as everyone knows, we ended up not doing a Hog Days, but at the start of the summer that year, when we thought, well, maybe we can pull off at least the barbecue, we gave some thought to holding it behind our building and putting the grills and cooking
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and people could just drive through, no one would sit
Yeah,
around, and
I think
They're
that's
so
so
good.
great.
and we'd still honor all the COVID protocols.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we ended up not doing Hog Days at all that year. So then the next year, 2021, it's like, do you want to give it a shot? Because by that time we
Yeah.
knew we had to move down west. And we did, and we're not looking back.
Yeah. I know I partake of the drive-through
Oh,
now
I think it's
instead
a
of
wonderful
waiting in the
thing, and my
line.
mother-in-law can
Yeah.
utilize it.
Yeah.
And going back to 2020, I don't know about you guys, but not having a Hog Days one year was like so weird.
What did you do?
It was like if you
sat,
came down
know?
here, it was dead quiet. It was just the weirdest thing.
So this year is what number of Hog Days?
This should be the 71st
71st.
Kewanee
Wow.
Hog Days, yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Based on 1954
Right.
as the start.
And what's the theme for this year?
Kewanee Hog Days, that's the way I like it.
That's good.
And the graphics show obviously, the barbecue, the carnival, that's the way we like it, Hog
Okay.
Days.
Casey and the Sunshine Band is just going through my head.
And,
right
Yeah.
now.
and that's where it came from. Someone came to us, Mike Purva, and said, "Hey, I got an idea for Hog Days this year." And he said, "Kewanee Hog Days, that's the way." I like
I
it.
love it. Mike is good.
So if you see the graphic, it just says Kewanee Hog Days, that's the way I like it. But anything that involves sound or video, you hear the Casey song.
You know what I love? If anybody's going to design a Hog Days T-shirt, I think a disco theme would be awesome with the pig.
Yeah.
That would be very cool.
Wonder if that could be on a banner.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, the Historical Society has taken over the banner sales for Kewanee Hog Days, so look for that around this time when this is released.
Yeah.
They should be out.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite thing about Hog Days? Like in a ride or an event or?
Okay, this is anyone watching this is going to, oh gosh, can it get any more Pollyanna? But believe it or not, and I do mean this, that I just look forward, and what I like is I'll have people who bring their children or their grandchildren.
Yeah.
And they'll say, oh, gosh, I remember so much how much fun it was riding the scrambler or, doing whatever they did for Hog Days. And now my little 6-year-old just can't wait until it's Hog Days. And it's like, that just makes me feel good.
That's awesome.
And makes it worth, because obviously putting on an event like that, there's all sorts of negative stuff you have to wade through to get to the
Right,
bottom
right.
line.
And all sorts of
But it's worth it.
yeah, all sorts of things that could go wrong that you have to plan for. And
So can
can't.
somebody? Oh, can
Go ahead.
somebody join the committee if they want to help you guys or?
Not only can they, we are always actively seeking out people to get involved in Hog Days, and I'm again one of my traits, good or bad, is that I try to be as brutally honest as I can about things. And I've pointed out to people that Hog Days is not our organization. Hog Days belongs to the community. It's the community's event. And those of us that are left on the committee, and we've dwindled down now to about 15 or 16 of us, we're all getting old, and eventually, like it or not, we're going to either pass away or pass on, or whatever's going to happen. And if the community wants us to continue, they really do need to step forward and say, well, I'll come on and give you guys a hand. One of the people in recent times is Jessica Fornander.
Okay.
She has now started coming to our meetings, and she's getting involved, taking care of most of our social media. Mike Komnick with the entertainment. There's someone sitting in this room, and it's not me, that started coming to our
John.
meetings. Yeah. Should we?
I decided to become involved, and so just history is my thing, and so right now that's kind of what I'm helping with. But I hope to get more involved with other things too.
But as we always tell people, just come to 2, 3, 4 meetings and get a feel.
Yeah.
And then after the 3rd, 4th meeting or so, just say, well, I would like to do the entertainment, or I would like to get involved in the historical aspect, or and there you go. There's your piece of the Hog Days kingdom. Run with it.
And I will
Have
say,
fun.
attending a meeting, everybody was friendly, welcoming. There was some coffee, which is always a plus for me. And just it's a very well run meeting. I was really impressed with how well your meeting ran. It was very goal driven, and just what you guys are focusing on, and just get that job done.
2nd Tuesday of every single month except December. We take the month of December off.
Yep.
And 7 p.m. Sort of carved in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this huge endeavor takes more than a couple months to put on. So how many people do you think come to Kewanee for Hog Days? Or
People have asked that over the years, and we honestly don't know.
Yeah, there's no really.
A couple of times over the years, and this is back in the 1980s, the police department would try to do crowd control estimates, and it used to be in the neighborhood of 25,000 people or so from the beginning to the end that flowed in, flowed out of town.
Well, with all of I know that is like the perfect time to host your reunions, your like family reunions, class reunions, and all that, because there's so much to do that people can,
I think you book your hotel now.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
don't
yeah.
wait until
And
August.
they're
They do fill
always filled up. And there's so much to do. There's entertainment every day, all day long on the stages, and then you have like mini ones. Like, isn't there somebody that plays? Sometimes they play here on the corner.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not just the main stage. There's like musical entertainment interspersed, and vendors, and
again, that's a Mr. Komnick idea. He's like, we need to expand that out. And so
I love it.
we started the mini stage right outside
I
the
love it.
doors
We
here.
love it. We have our doors
And
open.
then we added entertainment at the flea market craft show throughout the weekend at West Park. And now last year was the first year. We now do entertainment over at the barbecue pits all weekend long.
I guess I did see that. Yeah, I went and saw a band. I don't even remember. It's a blur.
So someone has, jokingly said, well, is it turning into a music festival? Well, it's sort of, yeah.
Well, yeah, there is lots of music, but there's so much other things. I mean, there's still the carnival, there's still the race that's put on by the chamber, and the book sale, and the carnival, and
kinds of things.
so many things to do during Hog Days. I know that when I first came here, a friend of mine who lived in Toulon says, "What is Hog Days?" She's lived there all her life, and she's like, "We never go there because it's just too crazy for us." Well, she comes on at 10 o'clock on Saturday night. Yeah,
There's family-friendly times.
there's lots of times that I live 2 blocks away, so I just walk up and see what's going on and stuff, and I always have a good time.
So the concession company, do they ever give you guys statistics on what was the most popular ride, what like got the most tickets, or do you guys even get into any of that?
We don't really get into any of that.
Okay. I was just curious. You mentioned jokes earlier. Any Hog Days jokes that you may have heard, or?
No, not really. All I can tell you is that starting about now, and we're here in the month of May as we're doing this, but it would be people approaching us saying, well, are you ready for Hog Days? What's new? What's changed? Sandwich prices going up, going down? And those are like about the top 3 questions over and over again until we get to Hog Days.
Well, do tell. Is the sandwich prices? Do we know whether the pork prices are going up?
Within the next 30 days, we'll be sitting down with our friends at Save-A-Lot. They've been supplying the past few years the meat for Hog Days, and see where the market's going. Myself personally, I haven't really been watching if hog prices are up, down, or staying the same.
I think the prices you guys charge for a sandwich has been pretty fair.
Yeah.
And I usually leave with a big bag of sandwiches and patties and,
A lot of that, again, I'm going to name drop Ann Murchison. She is very, very strong-willed and bullheaded on the concept that we don't want someone bringing their wife and 3 kids to Hog Days and needing to take out a bank loan. So we keep the price as low as we possibly can, but still rake in enough money to be able to throw it on the next year. Yeah.
Well, I know I appreciate all the hard work you guys do to put this on for the community. Because as you say, it is for Kewanee. Well, it's for Henry County, Kewanee.
Yeah. And it, for everybody that comes and visits at that time, too. Did you notice what we brought out for you today?
The old Christmas tree pig.
Yes. I was reading your brochure, and it mentioned it in there, and I was like, hey, that's in our window.
Yeah. She's kind of
The infamous pig.
I always laugh every time I pull out of our history file the column that Dave Clark did right after that. Yeah. And Dave's words were, I've never ever seen Kewanee people react so quickly, so strongly, and so negatively to anything in my life.
Goodness gracious, yes.
Back then the people weren't happy with a pig on top of the Christmas tree.
No, but yeah.
I wonder how times have changed.
We should try it again.
Getting the feeling now.
Well, first we would have to have a tree. That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story. Yes. So,
well, as we wrap up here, we want to thank Mr. Flannery, taking a break from his
busy Saturday.
It's also prom Saturday at Kewanee High School, and we enjoyed talking to him today here on our podcast, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And
please come out, enjoy Hog Days, please.
Yes.
Volunteer. I was talking to Larry earlier, and I think the biggest way that the biggest need right now might be the pork chop tent when Hog Days does come around.
Get your groups together, and let's make this Hog Days the best one yet.
The more volunteers, the quicker the line goes.
That's right.
There you go. That's very true.
And all information is on your website, right? For
Yes.
volunteering and stuff, and that is
KewaneeHogDays.com.
Okay.
And obviously we have Facebook and X, and I believe Instagram. Between
Wow.
Jessica and Mike, they pretty much have us spread out all over there on the
Okay.
social
Great, that's
media.
great.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, thanks, Larry.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
thanks.
could join us.
It has been a pleasure.
Well,
Thank
good, good.
Join us next time.
Yep, we'll see you at the museum.
Thanks for cruising with us today. We hope you enjoyed the show and you'll join us for our next cruise down Kewanee Memory Lane.